Okay, thank you again, everyone, for joining me on this session. So, today on the daily market analysis, what we'll be looking at is the dollar index as it sits below that 101 level, and also we'll be looking into the US dollar with the GDP to be released later today. But first, all right. So just trying a new format now. Let me know what you think about it. Put it into the chat and let me know what you think. Put your comments, feedback there as well. We're looking at the news, look at the fundamentals, then we look at the dollar index, and then right across all the other currency pairs. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free, put it into the chat and let me know. And also, you can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button. Okay? Thanks for that, Owen. Thanks. I hope it's good, interesting, Dinah. I hope it's a good, interesting. Thanks for that, Linley. Right. So today, as we said, we're looking at the dollar with the GDP quarter on quarter to be released. It was a 2.8. It's expected to come out at 2.8. It is going to be most likely a 2.8. It was increasing. It was 1.6, expected 1.2, came out at 1.3. So I do think that we might see a little bit of a positive number at 2.8. I don't think it's going to be a big change. Even if it does drop, I don't think it's going to be a big change. Um, Overall, at the dollar sitting at that 101 level, it looks like it's waiting for something to happen. Okay, so that's what we're looking forward to for today, with the GDP quarter on quarter to be released for the US. We also have the German preliminary CPI to be released. It's not out yet. It's going to come out sometime today. It was a zero point 0.3, expected a zero point 0. So waiting for that. I think that if it does come out showing a little bit of a 0, or it's going to come out at a, I don't think it'll be a negative, but I think a 0 would bring the euro dollar down a little bit more, as Germany is one of the big factors in the eurozone. So that's going to play into um, improving the ECB. I don't think they're going to do anything yet, but improving the chances that the ECB could look to cut rates in the near future again. Right? What has happened since the last time we spoke? From yesterday, a whole bunch of nothing so far, which also kind of reflects what happened on the dollar index. You see that it did push up through yesterday, right? But we looked at it as a bit of a double bottom, a bit of a retracement from the 100.55 level to push back up, right? Right now, just creeping above 101 again, but we're looking to see what could happen next. Right, again, back to the news for now. We also have unemployment claims to come from the US. 232K expected, 232. Again, remember, this is a weekly number. This is a weekly number, so I don't think it's going to, again, change prices too much. What you would be looking out for as well would be tomorrow. So whatever you do today, just be a little bit more careful, or extra careful. It's also because tomorrow we do have the core PCE price index to be released for the US, again showing a 0.2%, possibly going to be a bit more steady at 0.2. I'm thinking it would be good if we could see a 0.1, but most likely going to come out as expected, right? That could bring about some downside on the dollar index. Right, so not much to update in terms of news. In terms of headlines, I didn't see too much else. There was something I wanted to show. Oh, So we had the Japanese yen carry trade unwinding that was on the 5th of August. I'm sure you saw that already, and you might have seen that video that I did as well. Now, hey, it looks like China's great carry trade could unwind as well. That's going to have, or if that does happen, it's going to have a massive, massive impact on global markets. So something to look out for. Okay. Now, with all that said, we're going to check out the fundamentals. We're going to check out the dollar index. Right, not the fundamentals. Here we go. Right, so dollar index. This was from yesterday. I'll zoom right out to show you. First off, a big push to the downside. We saw that test on Monday. It bounced back up slightly, tested that trend line, came right back down again to that 100.55 level, formed a bit of a double bottom, and then push back up. What we also saw, this was from yesterday, so we're just repeating what we saw from yesterday, was that it broke above that trend line, right? That trend line to the downside. So we can actually take that away since it's broken. And then from this move down, even if you did take this, you see it's at 50% here. But if I took just this move here, 61.8, or up here, 61.8, right? So yesterday the dollar index did not. So we're right here yesterday. Did not push down to retest that support and break lower. Take that away for now. In fact, right after our session, it pushed up, broke above that 50 level, and continued higher towards that 60% fib retracement level. Right, push right back up to test the 61.8 fib retracement level there. Now, at this point, it tested late last night, early this morning for me, came right back down again. You'll see that it also came down to that 38.2 level. It came right down to 38.2 this morning, this afternoon, now rejecting that 38.2 and pushing back up slightly. What I'm thinking of now, given that we have the GDP to be released later today, at 2.8, it might, let me think a bit, at 2.8, it might show a bit of an upside on the dollar index, right? It might show a bit of an upside on the dollar index, but the crucial thing would be it needs to break above this 61.8 level. It will need to break above that previous swing level at 101.18. I'll give it a nice round number at 101.20. Okay. So today being the 29th of August, first thing is that needs to bounce off, push up, could trade up to this point. It needs to break this for that other upside. I don't see it trading all the way up. Let me check. But in the meantime, hey Ahmed, how you doing? Thanks for that, Jumarinas. Now I just want to check this trend line, because this bearish trend line started on the 30th of July, came down slightly, got tested on the 2nd of August, came all the way down, got tested again on the 15th, and we're right here now, right? Again, a big reminder that today is the 29th of August. So we're reaching to the end of the month. Could be after such a big month, right? So August we were a dollar index at the start of August. Where were we? Well, yeah, at the start of August, on the 1st, the dollar index was at 104.41. Right? Dollar index was at 104.41 on the 1st of August. Now we're approaching the end of August and it's down to 101.02. So bound towards the end of the month, we're bound to see some retracement, we're bound to see some correction back up again. So I'm looking at the dollar index, could trade higher, needs to break above 61.8, which is needs to break above that 101.20 level, which is that 61.8. And if it does that, then we could see the retest of 101.60, right? Which would be quite nice at this top of the trend line to signal another push back down. So essentially what we're saying is that it could trade up slightly, test, and needs to break that point to push up towards that 101.60 level. I think that might also coincide with that big move, 38.2 of that big move down, right? This big move down, 38.2 is right there. I don't think it's worth doing this. Let's have a look. 23. Yeah, look, from this move down all the way, if I take that one away first, from 30th of July all the way down to the lowest point in August, we see the 23.6 at 101.60. From the midway, once it's bounced back up, so at this point here, all the way down to the lowest point, we see 38.2 right at that level there. Right? So I'll keep 50 there. I'll take 50 out. Okay. And then we have 38.2 there again. And what we also saw was that it started pushing down from here. So 61.8 being a key level. So what I'm looking for, quite straightforward, would be for it to trade higher, break above 61.8 at 101.20, and then it could trade up to 101.60, which has a whole confluence of two different Fibonacci retracement levels and a swing level, and that bullish or that bearish trend line that could hold it. So if I could control the markets, this would be what I would think is going to happen. Push up, test that level, and then we'll see it come right back down again. With maybe the core PCE price index tomorrow or something into next week, right? Maybe some comments about interest rates next week. So that's what I'm looking for there on the dollar index. Again, any questions, please feel free, put into the chat and let me know. Now, with all that, okay, happy with that. With all that said, then looking at the Kiwi dollar. I got into this trade together on the live stream with a couple of you guys. I don't know who got into that, but I was looking at that. I got into this trade. Not looking too flash right now. Might hit a 20 pip stop on the Kiwi here because we are also expecting some recovery in strength on the dollar index. All right, so let me take that away. That looks like it's going to hit a stop. I'll let that run. I'm quite happy to take that risk on that. 23 would be down there. Okay, take that one away for now. Let me see, where's that dotted line come from? That dotted line is right there. That's fine, but I think a revision of this dotted line, I would be looking at that point there. Okay, so what I'm thinking here on the Kiwi dollar is that it could push down. It could push down, anticipating the dollar index to push up. We could see a retracement here. If, again, I like following the trend, but if you're looking to go counter trend, you'd be looking at, let me see, could we find a level here? A bit far away. No. You could be looking at this way down. 6270. Stop loss will be about 30 pips. Take profit will be about 50 pips to the downside. Right? You could be looking for that to push down to retest that support level lower. What I would prefer to do, I'm thinking that as well. What about that point? Is what I'm thinking would be for the Kiwi dollar to push down. I want to see, I would prefer to look for a reaction along these levels. Because of that big upward trend here on the Kiwi dollar. Right? That's why I'm don't really, you can sell it down. I don't really like to sell it down at this point. I would, right? So you can sell it down, but I would be looking for a possible test and bounce, or a test of the support and a bounce back up again. Okay, so I'll be looking at 6220 for reaction for a possible bounce. Not, I don't think it'll be something for today, maybe into tomorrow, but that's what I would be waiting for. Okay, and it's, to me, again, it's end of the month. Don't really feel like taking on any crazy big risk. I already have a trade that might be losing on that. So 6235, 25 to 60. Could trade lower, retracing down. Look for reaction at 0.6220. If it bounces, we'll be looking to buy at 0.6235. Stop loss 25, take profit 60. Take profit 60. Pound Swiss franc, yes, of course I can do that. Look at the dollar. Just as we were talking about it, pushing up, it's just retrace straight back down. I wouldn't be, the next level, if it's going to continue lower, I would only be looking if it breaks below that 100.80 price level. Okay, it needs to break past this point before I would say, yes, it's not going up, it's going to come back down to 100.55. So in this area, don't do anything yet. Okay. I still want to see that push up just so that I don't close out on that trade. Then on to Aussie dollar. It's come very close. We've seen it push up. That area still holds. We have that point there. So that still makes a lot of sense. Trend line doesn't make sense. Take that away. So it's come down, bounced off 6760 in that area, push back up, come down, bounced off that 6765 level, and push back up. I would maintain this view, maybe take it a little bit higher at 6815. Stop loss 20. Take profit 40 to the upside. Keep that the same, 68. Look for a break of resistance. It's trying that. So we're looking to buy at 6815. Stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the upside on the Aussie dollar. Double bottom, not quite, kind of, but not quite. To push back up, break above that level to go up. Yes, I like that. Let me just think a bit. I took away that previous trend line, but if you looked at this, that still kind of holds, right? That still holds, and that's why it's pushing up. I have a thought that it might push back down a bit, consolidate along. It might bounce around this level and then push up. So 0.68 is still that resistance now turned support level that you want to be watching out for. Okay, and you see that's showing a possibility of a bit of a cross back down. So we might see it push back, test that trend line, and then trade back up again. So now, Kiwi sitting there, hopefully not breaking lower, or if it does push up, then you have a small push to the upside towards that 6.3 level. It's sitting there. I'm still thinking it might come down a little bit. Aussie dollar sitting right there as well, testing that support level possibly. Aussie Kiwi had a very nice trade from yesterday. I didn't get into this. I know a couple of you did. Push down from 1.0885, a good 70 pip move to the downside, right? Rejected that trend line and pushed down. This was what I was looking for this morning, early afternoon, as the Kiwi showed some likelihood or potential to push to the upside. I was thinking that that could drag the Aussie Kiwi down, but now that it's found this point at 1.08, 1.0810 thereabouts, if I showed this to you, you'd see that this move overall from this point at 13th or October 2013 down, right? From this point down, you see 50% is right there. It's right in the middle. So it's in that long-term 50% level. And then we have the two range on the top and the bottom. So Aussie dollar, it's right at that middle line where you've seen it bounce and break from. So again, back to this point, because of this trend line to the downside, right? Because of this trend line to the downside, what I'm thinking here is that yes, it might push up. It might push up, but it's likely to go up to that trend line and then come back down again. Very similar to what we've been seeing right across since the 16th of August, came down, tested, came right back down, tested again, came right down, looking to test. Anticipating that the Aussie dollar could push up. It's doing that right now, actually. Kiwi dollar still sitting there, so this could actually show that upside. And then if the Kiwi bounces, we'll see that turn back down. You could, let me see, does it make sense if you 1.0865, stop loss tight at 20, take profit down to 55. So you look for a test and reject of that trend line to push back down. You could be looking at 1.0865. No, you'll be looking at 1.0860, 25 to 50 to the downside on the Aussie Kiwi. But you do need to wait for it to go up, test, and reject first. So a bit of waiting to do there on the Aussie Kiwi. Fair enough? Again, if you're on the session and you have any questions, put in chat, let me know. If you're new to the session, put into the chat, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from as well. Okay? Then on to the pound, the euro, and the euro pound. Pound dollar, we're looking for this. Not a lot happening there, right? Yesterday we said could trade up to 133. Big reaction expected there. It came up No, we were here. All right, it tested a little bit before pushing back down again. That's fair. Before pushing back up. Looking at this, we can take this trend line away. Let me see. I'm sniffing a bit today, pardon me. Now we look at that move up. S and bounce. That's good. I'm actually thinking that it could come down. It could sit there. So if you look at this, very ugly. So if it does that and then push back down, we have that trend line, that head and shoulder. So take that away for now. We have the head and shoulder there with a skewed neckline to the downside, a slight neckline to the downside. Could come down to this point and bounce. So there is a possible head and shoulder there on the pound dollar. It's right in the middle of a big support and a very, very big resistance level. I want to say that I think it's gonna sit there. Let me scroll back, nothing to the back. Push up, test. Right, okay. Ultimately, I'm not gonna trade it up. Right? Even if it does push up from this point, even if you try to catch a move, say 1.3240, you're looking at the 60 pip move to the upside. But like I highlighted yesterday, at this 1.30 level was where we saw a big reaction here in March 2022. So we come back to the present again. It's a bit too risky to try and trade up to that point. I would say if it does push up, we still want to sit and wait on the pound dollar. Could trade up to 133. We look for a reaction at the strong resistance. I'll keep that view. Right? What could most likely happen is a bit of a push up, a test, and then that. Then, hopefully, from there, we might see a good strong correction back down on the pound. Okay. Yeah, I don't think that head and shoulder would play out unless we see massive strength on the dollar index. Pound, no major news, even through to tomorrow, apart from that. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that big correction unless the dollar index has that big move up. Yeah, okay. Then on to the euro. I can't actually remember whether I signaled that or highlighted. Don't want to say signal. I don't run any signal channels. Can't remember whether I highlighted this trade idea to you guys on the Discord, in the Discord group. Again, if you haven't joined us on Discord, the link to my mailing list is there. Do sign up and all. 23.6 is still holding. Trend line is somewhat broken. Right? You can see I'm hesitating a little bit just because markets are a little bit choppy and consolidative. Oh, so this was what I did. I sold this down yesterday, I think around somewhere there. So I did something like, let me just check actually. On the euro, I did there. Okay. I did it right there, 1.1140 down to that point here at 1 point, yeah, 11. round number there. So there's a good 30 pip move to the downside on the euro. Tested this level and bounced back up. Now it does look like it could push back down. The trend line, I don't need anymore, take that away. But you can see this area has been holding, right? Since Wednesday last week, Friday last week, Friday, and again on Wednesday this week. So it bounced off this level. It shows like it might push back down. Dollar is still sitting there. Euro numbers should be, right? Spanish CPI 2.8, 2.4, 2.2. So it shows a little bit of weakness. I would think that it's in this range. But if it breaks below 1.11, we could see a good move here on the euro, right? If it breaks below 1.11, I would like to have a little bit of a wider stop on this. Why so? Is because we've seen a big area here that it could fall into, almost like a sinkhole. That seems to be the buzzword now. I'm thinking that it could drop, bounce, and then drop down. Even if it does, that could happen as well. That's why I will keep a bit of a bigger stop, but I'm thinking of a possible big move lower if the dollar strengthens or the euro weakens right down. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. That's a bit close. We got momentum down, that's fine. Break a nice round number. So below 1.11, 1.1085 euro. So we talked about that range. That's still ranging 1.1160. No, okay, take out that range. We would be on the euro looking to sell at 1.1085, stop loss 40, take profit 85 to the downside. That's what I'll be looking out for. It would most likely stay within this range, but I'm looking for that break to the downside. Right, that would support if the dollar starts pushing to the upside there. Okay, so again, pound dollar sitting right in the middle here between that strong, or between that support and very strong resistance. It's sitting right there, but it does have that bullish trend line possibly holding it up. The euro dollar showing, so it's pushed down that way. It's retraced to 38.2. It's rejected that point, showing some downside. If it breaks 1.11, it could see a big move lower. Good, I'm happy with that. Then onto the euro pound. If the euro dollar does push down, we could see the euro pound push down, especially if the pound dollar stays relatively consolidative. All right. So I'm thinking that again, you would be looking for it to test that support. Check the H4. Or check the daily. Below this support, let me see. We have another point here and another point down here. Okay. So that's what I'll do. Right, so I put the red one as a big strong support, gold one as a bit of a support, dotted line as an interim level. So now again, back to the current, then you would say that if the euro pound does break below this 0.84 level, then you could see it hit lower 8390, stop loss 15, take profit 50 to the downside. Test bounce, you can't even get away with 20 pips there. Right? Don't need that. We're looking for it to push down. Trend line is still holding. That's fair. Okay. Hey Basanta, how are you doing? Euro pound. Okay. If the pound dollar does push, right, it's sitting there right now. If it sits across and pushes up, then it's also going to support the idea that we could see that downside on the euro pound. So ultimately, still looking for the continuation of the downside on the euro pound. Then on to my favorite pairs, the yen, right? The US yen, this was, I can't remember who highlighted this, but we were looking at chart patterns or candlestick patterns earlier today. A flag to a bearish flag to the downside. Oh, so this was a trade I got into yesterday. Signaled, highlighted that on the Discord channel. Got stopped out very quickly on that. So it pushed down slightly before we saw the dollar index retracing back up. Got stopped out on that at minus 30. As it pushed up, we are seeing that form. But as this bearish flag forms, what you'll also notice is that although I have that small trend line there, ultimately you do want it to break above first that 50% retracement. It's held, right? It's gone up on Tuesday, held that level, came right back down. It's gone up on Wednesday night, held that level, came down slightly. There is a slight upward trend line there. So it would actually be more like that you're looking for. Okay, so push down, bounce, bounce, looking for it to break. I don't want to, I'm still not comfortable to buy the US yen up. That's fair. I don't think we need that. See, that move down. Not exactly, but we do still have that 23.6. I think 38.2 will be a bit higher up. Yep. So we have that 23.6 and we have that 50% and the confluence of this two. Right? So you have that push down. Take that away. What we're looking for here is either a test and a reject back down, or a test. I think I drew this yesterday. It feels like I've drawn this yesterday. Either a test and a reject back down, which I think could happen, but seems a little bit unlikely. If it does break above this 50 and that previous high here, maybe what we could see is a test of 146 and then a push back down. Hey MG, how are you doing? Can the US rise in all currencies? It does look like it, right? The dollar index does look like it's trying to have stage a recovery, so it could rise right against all the other currency pairs. All right, so I'm thinking of that. I think that's a bit near. If it breaks above 145.25, we could see it test 146.30, and then I'll be looking for that rejection. I know a couple of you might be looking to buy it up, but I would say 146. I'll be looking at 146. I'll be looking at a 40 pip stop. You have 100 back down. You have a 250 back down. I don't think it's going to move 250 now, but we're looking for that first move. Okay, I'm not going to buy it up. I'll look for it to go up, test, reject, back down again. Ideally, I would say, so that I don't have to wait for that long, I would say 144.85, 40 again, 140 to the downside. But I think that might be a little bit too near for that to happen now. Between these two, let me ask you, between these two, what do you actually think, or what do you prefer? Which would you prefer? The first one or the second one? Put it into the chat. Let me know what would you actually prefer here. Interest rate cut, if announced, will be positive or negative on the dollar. That's a question that I could be going on with a lot more detail, because there has been, and in the shortest way to answer that, there has been a lot of talk. And while I'm explaining that, you guys put into the chat, let me know, would you like one or two, right? There has been a lot of talk about the dollar, or about the interest rate cuts to come from the Feds on the 18th of September. It almost looks like it could be a priced in scenario with the dollar index having fallen that much already due to speculation from the rate cut. So it looks like a 25 basis point rate cut could lead to some positivity, some recovery in strength on the dollar. But if they do end up cutting with a 50 basis point, 50% will be massive. 50 basis point rate cut, then we could see a continuation of the downside on the dollar index. Okay? Hope I answered your question there. So I have 12112. It almost looks like we're going binary now. 12112. All right, we'll have that. There is no right or wrong. It's gonna play out the way it plays out. I would like to, but I think one seems to be more likely. Yeah, I would like to, but I think one seems to be more likely. Okay, we'll put in the second one first, that's because it's a bit nearer. 144.80, 40 to 140. 144.80, stop loss 40, take profit 140. There we go, that's pulling up. I tell you why it's pulling up. Firstly, it's the dollar showing a bit of a recovery. Euro dollar sitting there, pound dollar still sitting there. Look at the euro yen, it's came down, didn't trigger, take that away, bouncing off that 160.60 level to push back up, right? And you've seen it bounce. This is relatively straightforward. I don't like saying it's so straightforward, but it's relatively straightforward because it's bounced off since that time, 13th of August. We've bounced a big one on the 19th, again on the 26th. And now most recently, you see that trend line holding prices lower. So what we're possibly looking at, a test and a reject, but you don't want to be doing anything yet. Because if you are looking to sell euro yen down 161.20, so it looks something like that, your stop loss would be 30 pips, 35. The take profit back down here at the most would be 70, but that's pushing the bounds of it. you're looking at about 50 pip. I wouldn't do that. Euro yen now at this point, what you could best approach would be test, bounce. We look for reaction at that point. If the yen has that, whether it's 1 or 2, has that big drop, then you're going to see the euro yen break 160.50. That's where you would get in, right? Below 160.50, so 160.45, you would have a 30 pip stop loss. You would have a good 90 pip take profit down to that support level. A lot of patience. Today, this week hasn't been a big trading week, or last 2 weeks has been massive. Basanta has been enjoying the feast, right? But this week seems to be a little bit more choppy, a little bit more consolidative. We see prices spiking up and then quickly retracing. So you don't want to be rushing into anything. You want to be waiting for a good reaction, right? So look for it to test, reject 160 break below 160.60. Be looking for that push down, breaking that level. Okay. Then on to pound yen. That's moving well. All right, it just started moving at the start of this session, so I did not get into this, but we saw this. This was spotted on the live stream that we started how many hours ago? I started this 5 hours ago, so you should have joined us 5 hours ago. We highlighted this on the pound yen push up. We've got that. We've got another flag to push up. It broke above that 191.20 level, trading up towards, likely to trade up towards that 192 level. Okay? But again, don't do anything. If you haven't got into it yet, we're going to see a reaction at 192. Look at what happened on the 16th, 23rd, and before that, and now coming up as well. Why it's pushing up? US yen showing some upside, pound dollar still sitting but creeping up slightly. So pound yen pushing up. That's already, if you did get into that, that's a good 20 pips in already. You have an 80 pip take profit to the upside. That was what we talked about earlier today. Now, what you would be looking for if you didn't get into this would be a reaction along this resistance level here at 192, which coincides with that 61.8 very strong level. You've seen it reacting. So most likely you could see it push up a little bit more if it breaks that level. Right? So you're looking at this and you would think that what could happen here is a test, reject, push back up. So you'll be looking about 192.30. Stop loss would be 40 pips. Your stop on your pound yen is always going to be a little bit more. It's just a very volatile pair. You're looking at a 100 pip move to the upside there. Okay, so that's what you'll be looking for on the pound yen. But 192 crucial level, got to sit back and wait for that to break. Then on to, I remember I have pound Swiss. I haven't forgotten about that, Diana. Just hang on with that. Onto the US Swiss franc, pushed down, right? Had a good push to the downside. Now pushing back up because of this guy here pushing up. And if you check the euro, showing some, still has that little bit of an inverse relationship with the euro as well. So that's pushing up. But look at that move, right? Not saying that it cannot push back up. I think that, let me see. Put that down there. Any news on the Swiss? Not yet. Pushing back up. I don't like a counter trend, but not unless you really wanted to get into a trade. You could be 8445 40 pip 45 40 pip move to the upside, stop loss tight at 20 that way. So let it push up some more, break that trend line, break that 23.6 to push up towards that 61.8. But remember, this is a massive counter trend trade. Not that it's going to be a massive profit, but it's countering a massive trend that was to the downside. Okay, so 8445 20 to 40. US Swiss franc, you could be looking, I'll rank it very low, 0.8445, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the upside. It's very undecided here, so just watch the dollar index. US CAD, we were talking about this, an inverted head and shoulder. It's either it's a skewed and injured, so that didn't trigger, take that away for now. Skewed and injured shoulder that we talked about, or a flat shoulder if it pushes down. Now that it's broken lower, that resistance now turned, well, it's still a resistance. If it breaks past that point, then that inverted head and shoulder would be negated. I think it's sitting right there. You wouldn't want to do anything on it because, look, it's a bit odd, isn't it? Where you see this pushing down, and you see the dollar index trying to push up. Technically, you should be seeing this retest that resistance and push back up. So I'm thinking that if it doesn't break past this point, if it doesn't break past 1.3440, we could see it bounce. But I like the trend. I like that trend. Dollar index is just being very undecided at this point here. I like that one where it sits right across. Let's say that if it bounces back up, then 1.3485, 1.3490, stop loss 40. No, I don't like it. I don't like trying to bounce that back up. I don't think it's a good move. I think that I'd rather miss a bounce rather than try and catch and be fancy with it. I'd rather be looking for it to drop 1.3435, stop loss 20, take profit. You have a good 70 pip move to the downside. All right, so I kind of like that continuation back down rather than try and be fancy with it, try and pick it back up. Although, yes, there is a possibility of a inverted head and shoulder there. All right. Is there a recession that will happen? That's the million, billion, trillion dollar question. I have tried, Chiwei did answer that. I have tried to answer that million, billion, trillion dollar question in a video. Go check it out in my video sections. It's there. But short answer is maybe. How much? What about that for a short answer? Maybe. Okay, 1.3435, 20 to 70. There are a lot of factors that needs to be considered before thinking of a possible recession. A lot of moving parts to that and to that situation. So it's hard to really answer that easily whether it's recession. I think, analysts all around the world trying to answer that question. All right. But yeah, maybe I think, and it's also about when the recession is coming. Is it coming end of this year? Is it coming early next year? End of next year? 2026? Could be anything. And I know people who have been calling for a recession like 4 years ago and it still hasn't happened yet. That's a long distance call. All right, then the second last one, we have gold, where it came down as this was pushing down. As this was pushing down, I was in the Discord channel saying, hey, watch out. Breaking below that 2,500 level, we could see a massive push down. It came down and then it went right back up. This was what we talked about. Above 25.12 could trade up to 25.25. It pushed down and then it traded up to 25.20. Now, if the dollar, look at that, start of the hour, it was right up there. Halfway through is there. Now it's trying to close on a pin bar to the downside. We're going to watch that. Now that the dollar looks like it might come back down, it might do something. I'm thinking that that gold could push up a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to trade it up. Right, 25.30 is a big strong number there. Right, 25.18, 25.19 right now. What I would prefer is whatever it does, look for it to come back down, bounce off 2,500, and then we look to buy it up. Right, that's what I've been doing through the last 2 weeks on gold. Was either right at the top, took a small trade back down. When it came down to that point and that point, took a more standard trade back up again. Okay, so it's still stuck in that range. So what I would say on gold is that it could trade slightly higher, look for retest of 2,500 to buy the bounce. Okay, no worries, no achuku. We've got one more to go, which is the pound Swiss franc. Right, pound Swiss franc didn't do what we expected for it to push up and reject. This was earlier in the week. It came towards that resistance area and pushed right back down. Now bouncing off, rejecting that support to push back up. For the pound Swiss franc to push up, what you would want to see is either for the pound dollar to push up, it's not trying that, it looks like it's going to come back down a little bit, or for the US Swiss franc to push up, which has that chance of it breaking that trend line and pushing up. So on the pound Swiss franc, I'm thinking that this point here, it's tested this bounce. I would actually like to see a bit of a retrace at the best to test that support again before bouncing back up, where you'd be looking at 1.1120. No, yeah, 1.112. I would say 1.115 even. I would like to see that. Stop loss 25. Take profit would be about a 50 up here, just along that area. So that's what I'll be looking for. On the pound Swiss franc, it's pushing up, so it's not going to even retrace because the Swiss franc is pushing up. If it doesn't retrace, then then you'd be looking at above. Hang on, let's look at that. Put in the levels. Break above 38.2. You'll see it trade up. I want to see a retrace. I don't think it's a good level to get in the middle. Well, you would be there. I do want to see it retrace a little bit before pushing back up again. If not, then you'll be looking at 1.1150, just because it's a nice round, not round number, but kind of level. And that point there, so I'll be looking at that, then to trade up that way. Doesn't really make sense on the risk to reward, so I wouldn't be super keen on this. Okay, just doing a quick recap. Kiwi coming back down. Want to see that come all the way down, test and reject. Aussie testing that support level. Actually, my Kiwi is not doing too good. Aussie testing that support, looking for it to bounce. Aussie, Kiwi, test and reject. Still got to wait for that. Pound, the dollar testing, pushing back down, could test. Looking for that bounce is right in the middle. The best I would be looking for on the pound, if it does keep pushing down, would be for it to bounce 1.3160. Stop loss would be about 30 pips. Take profit, you would see that. So we'll be looking for that. Yeah, we want to see what happens there. Euro dollar, big drop. Wait, what's happening here? On the euro, no big news yet. But we're seeing a big drop on the euro. That could be coming up. Breaking below 1.11. I like that one, so watch out for that. Euro pound breaking down. Watch out for that as well. Dollar index is moving. It is pushing strongly up. It's news. Well, 1 hour ago, dollar falls as traders eye data. It's not falling now, right? It's pushing up. Yen, look at that. Dollar pushing up, but yen pushing back down. So just be careful with that. So we might be entirely wrong. Not one, not two. It could just break that trend line and hit lower. Euro yen pushing down because of the yen and the euro dragging it to the downside. Pound yen, we're not going to see that. I think we're going to see a test and a bounce. Swiss pushing up because of the dollar. CAD pushing up, don't want to buy it up. Gold pushing back down because the dollar is climbing. So that all makes sense. With all that said, please remember, trade well, trade safe. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments or leave me a feedback. If not, then I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care now.